In a time long ago, the people of Israel were living under the rule of their enemies, the Philistines. The Israelites had been suffering for many years, and they longed for someone to save them. In a small town called Zorah, there lived a man named Manoah and his wife. They were a good couple, but they were sad because they did not have any children. One day, a very special visitor appeared to Manoah's wife. It was an angel sent from God. The angel brought amazing news that would change their lives and the future of their people forever. She was told she would soon have a son. The angel explained that this son was chosen by God for a very important mission. He would be the one to begin saving Israel from the power of the Philistines. Because he was chosen by God, the boy had to live by special rules. He was to be a Nazirite from the day he was born. This meant he could never drink wine or any strong drink. He was not allowed to eat anything that was considered unclean. Most importantly, a razor was never to touch his head. His long hair would be a sign of his promise to God and the source of his incredible God-given strength. Manoah was so amazed by what his wife told him that he prayed for the angel to return. God heard his prayer, and the angel appeared again, this time to both of them. The angel repeated the important instructions, making sure they understood the sacred vow their son would live under. They were to raise him according to these divine rules. They named their son Samson, and as he grew, it became clear he was no ordinary boy. The Spirit of the Lord was with him, and everyone could see that he possessed a strength unlike any other person they had ever known. As Samson became a young man, his great strength began to show in amazing ways. One day while traveling, a fierce young lion roared and leaped out to attack him. Without any weapon, Samson was filled with the power of the Lord and tore the lion apart with his bare hands as if it were a small goat. This was the first sign of the incredible power he held, a secret strength tied to his uncut hair and his vow to God. This event was just the beginning of the many incredible stories that would be told about Samson, the strong man chosen to deliver his people. Samson's life was full of adventure and conflict with the Philistines. He decided to marry a Philistine woman from a town called Timnah. During his wedding feast, he told a riddle to 30 Philistine men. He made a bet with them. If they could solve it, he would give them 30 fine linen garments and 30 sets of clothes. The riddle was about his secret encounter with the lion. Out of the eater, something to eat. Out of the strong, something sweet. The men were puzzled and could not figure out the answer, which was the honey he later found inside the lion's carcass. The Philistine men became desperate and angry. They could not solve the riddle on their own, so they cheated. They went to Samson's new wife and threatened her, telling her to find out the answer for them. Frightened, she cried and begged Samson until he finally told her the secret. On the last day of the feast, the men gave him the correct answer. Samson knew they had cheated and was furious. He said, "If you had not plowed with my heifer, you would not have solved my riddle." He then went to another Philistine city, and in his anger defeated 30 men to pay his debt. His anger against the Philistines grew even more when he returned to find that his wife had been given to another man. To get his revenge, Samson came up with a clever and destructive plan. He caught 300 foxes and tied them together in pairs by their tails. He then attached a lit torch to each pair of tails and set them loose in the Philistines' fields. The terrified foxes ran through the dry grain, vineyards, and olive groves, setting everything on fire. This act caused massive damage and made the Philistines even more determined to capture him. The Philistines demanded that the men of Judah hand Samson over to them. The men of Judah, fearing the Philistines, went to Samson and tied him up with 2 new ropes. But as the Philistines shouted in triumph, the Spirit of the Lord came upon Samson with great power. He snapped the ropes as if they were threads. He then found the fresh jawbone of a donkey on the ground, and using it as a weapon, he fought off the entire Philistine army. In that single incredible battle, he defeated 1,000 men, showing everyone that his strength came from a divine source. After many years of judging Israel, Samson's life took a fateful turn when he fell in love with a woman named Delilah. She lived in the valley of Sorek, and the Philistine rulers saw this as their perfect opportunity to finally defeat their mighty enemy. They went to Delilah and offered her a huge amount of silver if she would help them. Her task was to discover the true secret of Samson's great strength. They wanted to know how they could overpower him, tie him up, and finally capture him. Delilah agreed to the deal, letting greed guide her actions. Delilah began her mission, repeatedly asking Samson to tell her the source of his power. 3 times, Samson tricked her with false answers. First, he told her that if he were tied with 7 fresh bowstrings, he would become as weak as any other man. The Philistines hid in the room, and Delilah tied him up while he slept. But when she shouted, "The Philistines are upon you, Samson," he snapped the bowstrings easily. He had lied to her, and the secret of his strength remained safe, but Delilah was very persistent and would not give up. Next, Samson told her that if he were tied with brand new ropes that had never been used, his strength would leave him. Once again, Delilah tied him with new ropes as he slept, and once again he broke them, as if they were nothing when the Philistines came. Delilah complained, saying he was making a fool of her. She begged and pleaded with him every single day, nagging him until his soul was vexed to death. Her constant pressure began to wear him down, testing his will and his commitment to his sacred vow in a way no army ever could. Finally, worn down by her constant questioning, Samson made a fatal mistake. He gave in and told her the whole truth. He confessed that he was a Nazirite, dedicated to God from birth. He revealed that his strength was in his long, uncut hair. "If my head were shaved," he told her, "my strength would leave me, and I would become weak like any other man." Delilah knew that this time he was telling the truth. She lulled him to sleep on her lap and called for a man to come and shave off the 7 braids of his hair. As the last lock of his hair fell to the floor, Samson's incredible strength left him. The Lord had departed from him, but he did not realize it at first. When Delilah shouted, "The Philistines are upon you, Samson," he awoke and thought he could fight back as he had done before. But this time, he was powerless. The Philistines seized him easily. In their cruelty, they blinded him by gouging out his eyes. They bound him with heavy bronze shackles and took him to a prison in Gaza, where they forced him to do the hard work of grinding grain like an animal. In the dark prison, Samson was humbled and broken. He had lost his strength, his freedom, and his sight, all because he had broken his sacred vow to God. However, as the weeks and months passed, something began to happen that the Philistines did not notice. Samson's hair, the symbol of his vow, and the source of his strength, slowly started to grow back. While he was grinding at the mill, he had time to reflect on his life and his mistakes. He prayed to God, seeking forgiveness and one last chance to fulfill his purpose. The Philistine rulers decided to hold a great festival to celebrate their victory over Samson. They gathered in the massive temple of their god, Dagon, to offer a sacrifice and rejoice. Thousands of people packed the temple and its roof. To entertain the crowds, they brought the blinded Samson out and made fun of him. Samson calmly asked the servant who was guiding him to let him feel the main pillars that supported the entire temple, so he could lean against them. He then prayed a final, heartfelt prayer to God for one last burst of strength. With his hands placed firmly on the 2 central pillars, Samson prayed, "Sovereign Lord, remember me. Please, God, strengthen me just one more time." He then pushed with all his might, using every last bit of the power that God returned to him in that moment. As he strained against the massive stone columns, he cried out, "Let me die with the Philistines!" The pillars crumbled, and the entire temple came crashing down, killing the thousands of Philistines inside, including all their rulers. In his death, Samson defeated more of his enemies than he ever had during his entire life.